Hi everyone, welcome back. I know it's been a long month. It's been a really busy month. I've been really focused, and we're going to share with you today lots of progress that's been made since the last update, and why we did what we did. So, and I'm also going to show you some tips and tricks, not just, hey, look at us and what we did. But ahead of that, some housekeeping. So I want to thank everybody who took the time to purchase the download maintenance book that we put on special there Thanksgiving week. And one of the things we've noticed is we probably should have told you the link for the digital download was good for about 5 days, I think. And so for those of you who are traveling, and maybe those of you who got them for stocking stuffers, the link may have expired. So Carol's going to put a link in the video here for those of you who are seeing that problem. Just send her an email and she'll redo the link for you. Okay, and again, thanks for all of you who purchased the book. We just want to get it in the hands of everybody. And actually had somebody ask me, and somebody else mentioned, they're using it as they're building because there's lots of maintenance hints in there on things to do and not do to make it easier to maintain this airplane once you're finished. So have fun with it. We also want to wish everybody Merry Christmas or whatever you're celebrating this holiday season, and have some fun. Take a break. I know I'm tired. We're going to take a break for a few days here next week. And in the meantime, let me show you where we're at. So I'm going to take a pause here, and we're going to go to another part of the hangar and show you what we started on right around Thanksgiving time frame. Okay, so right about the end of November, Thanksgiving time, started looking ahead, do some planning, and realized I might be pretty close to being done with most of the construction. Not all, we're never done, right? But given that we really had a gorgeous fall here in October, November, some nice warm temps, I thought, you know what? I'm going to move ahead with metal preparation and maybe move ahead to paint, certainly primer. So really went hard at that. Carol will do kind of a sweep here. You can see hauled up all the pieces from storage in the basement, all the control surfaces, the wings we took out of the jig, and the cradle, and have scotchbrited each of those. And if you look very closely on the ends of each of them, I've actually filled them in with some foam and some Superflight filler there. I'm sure that's going to be good for 25 knots. Basically just wanted to clean it up and keep mud daubers here from making nests inside the airplane. For those of you that are considering doing that, make certain at the end of, like if I show a picture here on the aileron end that I did, okay, you want to make sure you leave enough hole there, and I'll file that out a little more, so water drains out of your control surfaces if you park in the rain, certainly in freezing temperatures. And you don't want to get corrosion in there, even though all of the insides of these are primed, and hopefully we don't care if water gets in there, but always thinking ahead there, never know what might occur. So just about the time I was ready to move outside to paint, it went from 60 degrees one day to 29 the next. So I thought, oh boy, well, let's just wait and hold off for a bit on the priming and maybe the paint prep. And what else can we do? So wiring. And by the way, before I go there, let me show you the fuselage too. I don't think that was in her wide sweep. We've got this cabin top here, pretty much real close, maybe 90%. Actually got some help here from our oldest son's father-in-law, Larry Clark. He's a retired Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, and he knows how to sand. So while I was scotchbriting, Larry was sanding and filling, and this is just about ready to go. We're going to figure out what to do around the windows. I've gotten lots of hints from many of you to avoid some of the notorious cracking. The doors have been blended in. They're sitting on the floor over here. I managed to get the door mechanisms in from playing around, and those are all working very nicely now. And I don't know if I told you how many times, but I hate this cabin top and these doors. The fit is absolutely horrible. Why, for the price of this kit, Vans can't do a better job on that after all these years is beyond me. But I think they could take some lessons from Sling and some of the others out there have kind of the same thing. They fit much nicer. So it is a lot of work. And I still have yet to do the door. We're going to do the McMaster card door seal around here. I've started it, but not finished it yet. And I have used some of the carbon fiber door sills here from Aerosport. And so those are in, and you can see I've blended those in now to the aluminum on the inside. And so while we're here, you're getting a sneak peek to the inside on the next topic. And I decided to move ahead to the wiring, as I mentioned. So this has been no small task. This has been easily over maybe 150 hours of labor so far. I have sat in this cockpit for 6-8 hours a day. And Carol was gracious enough to allow me to use the seats that she's already covered. So she wrapped them up so I could sit in here somewhat comfortably. And you can see, managed to get a whole bunch of this stuff now wired. It's just about completed behind the panel. So I'm using the ACM, the Advanced Control Module from Advanced Flight Systems. If you look there on the left corner, Fly LEDs has a really nice add-on component to the ACM that wires all of their LED lights and actually has some nice features like making the strobe lights work as floodlights when you're taxiing out at night rather than having the strobes blinking. Just much better situational awareness. I think that's kind of cool. You can see how I've mounted everything in here, and that's somewhat a jigsaw puzzle. When you first get started, it's one of the first things you do is figure out where you're going to put everything. And so far, it's all fit. And the ACM handles probably 95% of the electrical load of the aircraft and things that you might need. But I always end up adding a swing down panel here that connects to the front of the instrument panel on the bottom to use some extra things over here. Like I've added seat heaters, both front and rear. You can see the wiring comes out here for the front seats, and it's all visible back here for the rear seats. This will all be covered up with the side panel. I still have to wire the audio jacks on the side panels. Those require some soldering. But you can see got everything pretty neat here, and now we're all ready to put the foam behind here for both sound deadening purposes and some temperature insulation as well. So that's ready to go in. And most everything else is done. Wiring on the front half. I've still got some things to do on the back half. Remember, I did put in this overhead panel, so we're going to control some things from up here, like the rear ventilation. I will also control some of the overhead lights with some dimmers up here. So I have ran some wiring up there. I still have a little bit to do. One of the things I wanted to show you here, I may have mentioned in the past, you know, the RV-10s, every once in a while you'll hear about a door coming open during flight or on takeoff or something. Unfortunately, there has been, I know, at least 2 crashes with fatalities just because of a door coming open. Now, Carol and I have been in a habit over the 25 hours we had our last RV-10. We always check and call doors closed and locked and actually feel them before we enter the runway. But as many of you know, there's always a distraction once in a while, especially when you're at a controlled field and tower says cleared for immediate takeoff. And it's a hot 100-degree temperature day on the ramp, and we're not going to taxi with those doors closed. We do not have air conditioning. I don't feel like hauling around in air conditioning for that little bit of time. So you've got the doors cracked open, and you want to make certain you don't get rushed. So one of the things I did on the last one that works very well is, I don't know if Carol can get a close-up here. If not, we'll get you a picture. But I put a micro switch right there on the throttle that arms the door warning circuit whenever we come off of idle. So you can hear it clicking right there. And I've run wires already. Once this gets set in place, we've got wires that will go to that switch, and we'll arm the door sensors, and then we'll put an EFIS warning with an audio output, and I'm going to wire a light to the panel as well. So that gets your attention every time you move the throttle out of idle. So just a little extra precaution there some of you might consider doing. We know it. We all think it won't happen to us, but you know, I'm all about eliminating risk, so I thought I'd share that with you. So when it comes to wiring, there's some tips and tricks I think I want to show you because it just didn't happen. I know we put out these videos and some of you send a note back, go, well, how did you do that? So I'll try and show you some things here. If you remember when we were actually building the airplane, I showed you these blue conduits that I ran underneath the floor all the way to the rear end of the aircraft behind the baggage bulkhead there, because there's quite a bit of wiring, as you can see, that goes to the rear of the aircraft. Actually, the main bus is back there, the battery, and then we've got ADAHRs and sensors and trim and all kinds of things that require wires going back there. So how did I get it back there? Let me show you. So here's a trick I thought I'd share with you, makes getting the wires through there very easily. Just grab a length of piano hinge wire. You should have a lot of this in your kit, especially if you got the finished kit. It's the cowling hinge. Just pull it out of there and you can use it. You're not going to destroy it or anything. Or just find a long piece of wire at Home Depot. And it's very easy to just take this and feed it through those blue conduits. It'll go all the way to the back side. Then you just use some blue tape. The blue painter's tape I tell everybody to keep around like this. Tape it to the other end of this, and then you just pull it back through. It's a piece of cake to do them all like that. So quick hint there to get the wires through. And then let's go talk about what we do to all the wires after I pull them. So I'm going to show you some of the tools that I think are necessary. Some are nice, and then some just make it a whole lot easier down the road when they're changing things or doing some kind of maintenance. While I'm at it, one other thing I thought I'd mention. You know, I purchased these wheel pants from Sky Designs. That's Ken Kruger actually designed the RV10. These carbon fiber wheel pants are really, really nice. They're super light. They come in 3 pieces. Makes it easier to ship, I guess. But here's what I think is the cat's meow that I really love. Those of you who have built an RV10 or any of the RVs know how hard it is to jack up the RV to align the wheel pants for flight. You got to drop strings and plumb bobs and measure everything and try and get those things very accurately straight. Otherwise, your airplane's going to fly out of trim. Ken already has all the holes lined up, and he sends the pieces that actually go on the axle. We'll get you a picture of those. You just have to install the nut plates, and these things are pre-aligned. So boy, that saves a lot of work and makes it easy. And the other neat thing that I like is these are set up for 600x6 wheels instead of the 15 600x6 that are normally used on the RV10. I think the 600x6 are going to make the ride a lot smoother, especially on grass runways. Yeah, it's a couple of extra pounds of weight, etc., but I think it's worth having those. So anyway, thought I'd share those with you. Now let's talk about some of the tools I think are really important when it comes to wiring the aircraft. So first off, you're going to be stripping a lot of wires, okay? Get yourself a quality pair of strippers, not something from AutoZone. You need one that actually holds the wire and pulls it and has all the proper gauges on there. You can see this one goes from 26, I think, all the way up to 16 or 18. And that way you put your wire in there and it'll strip it, it'll still hold the wire, and it doesn't nick the wire. In certified shops, wire strippers like these are absolutely required. You don't want to nick any strands off the wire. Remember, an aircraft is a really high vibration environment, so we don't want any nicks in the wires. So use a proper stripper, okay? And then invariably, you're going to be using all kinds of connections on the end of those wires. You're going to be splicing some wires, okay? These red ones are for, 22 gauge kind of wire. 2022 works. You'll get blue connectors. These are like 16 and 14 gauge, 18, and then you'll have all kinds of connectors, 6, 8, 10 to go on to screws. Some of your big leads, like your starters, etc., may have larger 1/4 inch diameter things. What I would tell you about these is, again, don't get these from AutoZone. Don't use automotive connectors. Use the AMP connectors. They're much, much better. And then get yourself a good crimper. That's a double crimp connector. And you'll see here, it's actually color-coded for all the different colored splices or terminal connectors you're going to use. So you'll get the exact proper crimp. The double crimp means it's going to crimp in the first part here, closer to the middle. It's going to crimp the exposed wire. And then the little end back here, still metal, will actually crimp the insulation of the wire. So it holds that wire firmly in place. For some of the other things at the end of the wire where you're putting the pins, you're going to make certain you use a good connector for those pins, okay? Here's an example of one. You can get these off of Amazon. This is called JR Ready, I believe. Okay, JR Ready. It actually comes as a whole kit. They do, in this case, send the proper tool for the pins. These are the kind of pins. These are not unlike the pins, are a little larger here, that you're going to use in the D sub connectors that actually go into the ACM, the Advanced Control Module there. And if you come around the corner here, you can see I've already wired the wing with these connections, okay? These are somewhat weatherproof, you can see. That's why I've used these. These are at the wing root connection. And then I will also coat these with Molykote to keep moisture out once I mate them to the wires hanging out of the wing over there. So one of the next steps we're going to do is mate the wings to the fuselage. One, so I can do the wing root fairings, and two, we can actually connect all the wiring from the fuselage to the wings. So again, please use the proper tools on your wiring. And then when you're doing the wiring, one of the things you want to consider doing, I don't know if you noticed it when you were looking at the wiring in the aircraft we just showed you, every single wire is labeled, okay? This just is a little, basically a labeling tool that has shrink wrap in it. And you just, type whatever you want to put on there, like I'll put alternator ground, alternator regulator, etc. It prints it out, then you slide it over the wire and you use your heat gun to shrink it. So it's bright yellow. So down the road, whenever you're looking, hey, what's this wire? Where's this wire go? Like you're troubleshooting an alternator failure problem, where's that wire go to? So I label it at both ends, makes it easy to trace. Sometimes the wire's too thick, or you want to label a junction box, etc. Then I'll just use a stick-on label maker, prints out white on black labels and puts that where you want it. Okay, so again, consider wiring everything. I haven't always been religious about doing that in the past. It's all in my head, and it's annoyed me when I've gone back to do something. So I've been much more religious doing this one, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. One of the other things I've written about in the past, and I just want to remind everybody, airplanes require an ELT. As an example, the ACK Technologies E-04 is the most common one. And one of the things I've seen when I go do first flights or DAR in an airplane, people forget that the control module that is in the instrument panel and the audio alerter panel that also goes behind the panel and in line to the LT both have batteries in them. Guess what? They don't come with batteries. So I've seen them installed. I've actually seen these installed from some of the panel providers without the batteries in them. So it's an easy oversight. The manual does tell you which battery to use. They both use a separate battery. They're supposedly good for 10 years, but make sure you install those batteries before you put these pieces in the aircraft. So one other thing I want to show you is getting in and out of this RV-10, doing this wiring. I'm not as sprightly as I used to be, recognizing my age, but without the wings on, getting in and out of the RV-10 is a real hassle. And you never get in there, no matter how far ahead I think, oh, I need this tool, that tool, and this tool, and I kind of gather them all up. I'll get in there, climb up in there, and then I got to get out. So I get out a dozen times a day. So one of the things I've done is made this little creation I'll show you. It slides right up next to the, actually the side of the door there, and I just pile all kinds of tools on there. It makes it a whole lot easier. So let's go take a look at that. So here's this little, Carol calls it an ironing board. Where's your ironing board? I guess it looks like an ironing board to her. But I just made this long thing on top. You can see how many tools I got piled on here. I also put some power there. And this slides right up over top of the wing when the wing is installed. And you can see I'll push it right by the door here. And then it gets out of the way really easily. And with the power outlet, I have power for the heat gun, which you're going to use to shrink all of those wire labels, heat shrink where you use it, where you tie your shields together and put those things on top of the wire for the shield. You'll use this to shrink that. Sometimes you got to solder some wires like on the microphone and headphone jacks. So it's nice to have power here as well. And it gets in and out of the way pretty easily. I've used this thing a lot, put it on wheels, and it works wonderfully. So anyways, as you can see, been really busy in the last month. There's at least probably another 150 hours since November here, or Thanksgiving in November, but making some good progress. I actually feel pretty good about it. It'll be nice when I can finally put power on the aircraft. Next steps are going to be the instrument panel you may have seen laying on one of the wings over there. I have test fit it, but once I get all of that for sure done, we'll put the panel in there and then attach things like the throttle quadrant, the radio stack, and tidy up some things, and then cover up everything really, really well and finish up some of the light sanding inside so we can get the interior painted. So anyway, again, want to wish everybody a really, really Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy holiday season. I hope you're all making progress on your airplane as well if you're building. If not, we hope we provided some entertainment for you. Anyway, thanks for watching.